Okay, hi, so welcome to the third video on the circulatory system, and in this video we're going to be talking about the blood, right? Now the blood is not just the red that you see, there's actually different components to your blood, and we're going to talk about those right now. So the first one are the red blood cells themselves, right? These are obviously what make your blood red, okay? It's only red at a certain point. That's when you have oxygen in the blood, right? So if you've seen my previous videos, then you'll know that you have blood which is sort of bluey purple and blood which is red when it has oxygen. But let's have a look at this red blood cell. So the job of the red blood cell is to carry oxygen around the body, right? The blood goes to the lungs, picks up oxygen, and then the blood goes back to the heart and then is pumped to the rest of the body, right? Providing all the other cells in your body with oxygen. Okay, now the red blood cell is adapted in a few ways in order to make this happen. Now, first of all, the shape, right? So the shape, I'll type this actually because my handwriting is terrible. Shape is what we call a biconcave disc. Biconcave disc. What do we mean by that? Well, concave means to cave in, and you can see here, okay, that it's actually caving in like that, right, in 3D. And the other side, if you flip this upside down, it'd look the same on the other side. So you also have a cave like this on the other side. Now what that does is it helps to raise the surface area to volume ratio, right? So that allows, or it gives you a higher surface area to volume, spelling's awful today, ratio. Okay, so high surface area to volume ratio. That's important because it means that you allow efficient exchange of substances. Yeah, more specifically, oxygen. So it allows diffusion to occur quickly because you have a large surface area for that to happen. Okay, that's obviously very important. If you haven't seen my video on exchange surfaces, go and watch that now because that is a very important concept. Alright, now what else? You'll notice that this doesn't really look like most cells that you've seen, okay? Most cells you've seen have got loads of different things inside, including a big nucleus, right? And ribosomes and mitochondria, etc., etc. The red blood cells don't have that, right? They do not have a nucleus, okay? So no nucleus. And you might think, well, why not? The nucleus is meant to control activities in the cell, right? Well, red blood cells actually don't last very long, okay? After about 40 days, they're destroyed and we make new ones, okay? So no nucleus because they don't need one for a start. And it allows more space to fit oxygen, okay? It allows more space in order to fit oxygen. So this allows more space so that let me move this actually over here. There we go. So that the red blood cell can carry more oxygen. Okay. All right. Now it doesn't just carry oxygen just on its own. Okay. Oxygen just doesn't go in and just sit there in the cell. There's actually something which makes the blood red, which is carrying the oxygen. Okay. So the blood cells contain a pigment called hemoglobin. Okay, hemoglobin. Let me just put that on a new line, like so. Okay, now the hemoglobin is what binds oxygen. Okay, so let me move this over here. Hemoglobin, right? Hemoglobin binds oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin. Oxyhemoglobin. Okay, and this oxyhemoglobin is what's red. Okay, so your oxyhemoglobin, once the hemoglobin has bound oxygen, okay, it's basically a protein which is carrying oxygen for you, right? It picks up the oxygen and carries it in the red blood cell. And the oxyhemoglobin is red in color. Okay, and so when the blood cells reach their destination, the oxygen is released and diffuses into other cells. right? So the whole point is that the hemoglobin can pick up oxygen at the lungs, right? Because that's where you obtain your oxygen from. Then when it arrives at the point where it needs to give that oxygen up, the hemoglobin actually gives away its oxygen and becomes hemoglobin again, right? Oxyhemoglobin giving away its oxygen, coming back to hemoglobin. That cycle repeats itself constantly as your blood is going to the lungs and then around the body and back. Okay. Cool. So that is the role of the red blood cells. Literally, they pick up oxygen at the lungs, deliver it to the rest of the body, and the thing that's actually carrying the oxygen in the cell is called hemoglobin. Okay? So, that's the red blood cells. You also have things called white blood cells. I'm just going to move this over here so that we have more room to write. Cool. Now, the white blood cells, their job is not to carry oxygen, right? Your white blood cells have a number of roles, mainly in the immune system. Okay, so one thing that they can do is some of them can carry out phagocytosis. Okay, phagocytosis, this literally means engulfing microorganisms. Okay, so this is engulfing. Okay, if you wanted to think about it, it's like eating. Okay, don't say eating in your exam, but that's a way to think about it. Engulfing microorganisms and killing them. Okay, so if you've got a bacteria, let's just draw a terrible diagram. Why not? So let's say you've got this bacteria, right, which we don't like. That's not a nucleus. That's genetic material because bacteria don't have nuclei. And let's say that this bacteria is just floating around. This is not to scale. Okay, but it's causing us damage. Now, we don't want it, and so this white blood cell comes over, and it actually changes shape as it does this, right? But obviously my drawing is not up to scratch. Won't be able to do it. It changes shape and basically engulfs that pathogen, eats it, and then inside the white blood cell, then it digests the bacteria, and the bacteria dies, right? And then you've just got bits of the bacteria in your white blood cell. Basically products of digestion, and they can deal with those. Sorry about that. And so yeah, they can just get rid of the bacteria by actually digesting them with enzymes inside the white blood cell. Now, some other white blood cells don't do that. Instead, they produce things called antibodies. Okay, so other white blood cells produce antibodies, okay, and or antitoxins. Okay, alright, so they produce those, and basically what they do, an antibody is going to bind to a microorganism that's invaded, right? It can lead to the death of that microorganism. An antitoxin is going to bind to a toxin. So for example, some microorganisms, when they get into your system, they release harmful chemicals, right, which is aimed to do damage. These antitoxins will bind those chemicals and basically make them safe. Right, so now they're not going to damage you. So those two things are also done by white blood cells. You'll also notice this very large thing here, okay, just over here. This is actually the nucleus. Okay, you'll see, if you Google white blood cells, you'll see all sorts of different shapes. Okay, some of them look like this, some of them look slightly different. All of them though have a nucleus, right? And that makes them obviously very different to red blood cells. They don't have hemoglobin, so they obviously don't have the pigment. That's why they're not red. And they don't carry oxygen like red blood cells do. So they have a very different job. Okay, so we also have other things in our blood, right, called platelets. Now platelets, I'm just going to draw these in red, right? Platelets are small things, right? They're basically fragments of cells. Okay, so you've got these. And when I say fragments of cells, fragments of red blood cells, right? They look like so. Now, they don't have a nucleus either. Well, they come from red blood cells, so they don't have a nucleus, right? Let me just write this over here. Okay, so no nucleus. Okay, platelets are fragments of cells. Okay, I'll put in here red blood cells. Okay, so they don't have a nucleus. The job of those is to allow the blood to clot. Yeah, so they allow our blood to form blood clots. Okay, now what's the purpose of a blood clot? Or what is a blood clot? A blood clot is basically where a load of your blood clumps together, right? And it seals any opening that you have. So if you cut yourself, initially you're going to bleed, right? But you'll notice after a while, you get a scab forming over. Now that scab is a result of platelets coming together and basically forming a barrier, stopping any more blood from being lost. That's what we call a blood clot, right? So we really do need these things in order to allow us to clot our blood so we don't lose a load of blood. There's another reason why we want to seal that cut as well, because if we cut ourselves, then that means that our blood is exposed to the environment. The environment, or the air, contains many, many different microorganisms. Yeah, some of those are going to be harmful, right? They might be harmful bacteria, which is going to give us some kind of condition or disease. Now, if we clot our blood, then it means that those bacteria cannot enter the blood either, right? So a blood clot stops us from bleeding when we suffer a cut. Okay. Also, the clot seals the blood, or seals the cut, stopping microorganisms which may cause us harm from entering the blood. Okay, so that's what they do. Obviously, more than one need for those platelets and for the blood clots, but both of those things are extremely important, and so it's a good thing that we have these platelets. All right, and so the last component of our blood, there we go, is called the blood plasma. Right, the blood plasma. Now, blood plasma is the liquid portion of our blood. Okay, it is yellow in color. Right, so if you separated our red blood cells and our white blood cells and platelets from our blood, then what you end up with is this yellowy liquid, right? And that is our blood plasma. Okay, it carries everything in our blood. Okay, and I'll put in here, aside from oxygen, because oxygen is carried directly by the red blood cells. So in the blood plasma, all right, I'm just going to list things here. There are red blood cells, right? The red blood cells are actually basically in the blood plasma, okay? So are the white blood cells, okay? What else do we carry in our blood? Well, in our blood, we need things like sugars, okay? So sugars, glucose, okay? We have a blood sugar level, right? That's because that is carried directly in our blood. Amino acids, same thing, right? Amino acids are carried in our blood, and then they are transferred to the cells that need them, basically. Right, carbon dioxide. Okay, this is an important one because your red blood cells take in oxygen, but they don't take in carbon dioxide, or at least nowhere near as much. Right, most of your carbon dioxide is actually in the blood plasma, not in your red blood cells. Okay, so when you take in carbon dioxide from your cells to take back in your deoxygenated blood, most of that carbon dioxide is not in your red blood cells. Most of it is in your blood plasma. Okay, anything else that travels in the blood? Hormones. Okay, our whole endocrine system, so our hormones, which affects cells all over the body, the hormones are actually carried around in our blood. That is in our blood plasma. Yep, we've already mentioned antibodies. Okay, I should do that on a new line, which I will. Antibodies, we've mentioned those, and antitoxins. Toxins, right? When these are released, they travel around in your blood plasma, right? And they come across anything that they need to neutralize, and that is what happens. Right, one more. Urea. Okay, urea is carried in our blood. That's basically the main component of urine. Okay, so in digestion, we turn harmful compounds into urea. Urea is not so harmful, but we still want to get rid of it because we don't want too much of it. It travels in our blood plasma. Okay, that is about it. So our blood plasma is just a liquid component of blood. Loads of jobs. Basically, it's where everything is. Okay, our red blood cells and our white blood cells have specific roles. The red blood cells take in oxygen. It binds to hemoglobin because red blood cells contain hemoglobin. Right. The white blood cells are there primarily to fight infection. Yep. So they produce antibodies, antitoxins, or they go and deal with pathogens or microorganisms directly. Okay, but then our blood also basically contains a load of other stuff that we carry around the body to where it's needed. Sugars, or glucose being one, amino acids, carbon dioxide, okay, that's going to go back to the lungs so we can breathe it out. Hormones, they can affect all different kinds of cells depending on which hormone we're talking about. Antibodies and antitoxins, which are produced by the white blood cells, obviously released by them into the blood plasma. And urea, okay? So, that is basically a rundown of our blood. And so I'm going to stop this video there, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you do still have questions on the blood, then feel free to post in the comment box below or send me a direct email, okay? But otherwise, please do like and subscribe because it really does help me, and you'll obviously get a notification when new videos become available. But I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you in the next one.